same topic that we started, which is ecology or ecosystem. So it is very, very important to understand the word ecosystem or ecology. So in talk of ecosystem, you're talking about the interaction of living organisms, the way living organisms interact with each other. What I mean here is this, like the way we said that in an ecosystem, what act as producers are always plants, because that is where we get the energy from. So that one is very, very important to understand. And then apart from that one, we also discuss the terms which are used under ecosystem or ecology. One of them was community. We also have niche, habitant. We also have population. So all those terms. We also have biotics. So those terms, you need to understand them. So we have the first question. Remember, this is the SC question. The SC questions that we have here. So you're supposed to write your answer in a paragraph form. So we have two questions here. The first one is saying explain the term population. So we have the first question here, which is saying we need to explain the term population. Then apart from that one, we need also to investigate the factors that cause change in population size. So there are different factors that can cause change in the population size. So let me start with the definition of population, and also I'm also going to differentiate between population as well as community, so that you know the differences. So when you talk of population, I'll just give you an example. When they are counting population in Zambia, they just count the number of people, excluding other living organisms like dogs, trees, cats, cows, chickens, all those things. They exclude them. They just count what? The human beings. So meaning to say those human beings are just particular of species. Okay? They are just particular of what? Species. And then when you talk of species here, we are talking about same living organisms that are able to interbreed or produce their offsprings, or that are able, the living organisms that are able to interact and they are able to produce their young ones or the offsprings. Those are called the species. So to say human beings, they are just kind of species. Okay, so you never see a human being marrying a dog, or a human being having a sex with a dog. That one can't happen, whereby they are also going to have children or the offspring. So that one can't happen. So when you talk of population, we just focus on the certain species that we are interested in. So when you talk of population, this is just the group of organisms of the same species living together in a particular area at the same time. That is what population. So writing in form of an essay, we are going to say population is just a group of what? The group of living organisms. The group of living organisms. Okay, the group of living organisms of the same species. Okay, of the same species or species. So this is the way we write species. Of the same species in a particular area. So particular area at the same time. At the same time. Then from there now we can put a full stop. So this is how you are supposed to start your essay. Remember, we are answering question A. So you may ask a question now. Are you supposed to indicate that you're answering question A or you're answering this part? So an examiner will let them know. But when choosing the question, you have to indicate that this is question 5. So this is question 5. If you choose to answer the ecosystem question or the ecology part, you have to indicate as question 5. Then you define what population is. But when you talk of community, the word community consists of different living organisms. Okay, so an example which I can give is, in the community that you are living, there are different living organisms. So if we consider the community, we are looking at the population of different species that live in a certain place or that live in a certain area. So for community, we are not focusing on one species, but we are focusing on different species: dogs, human beings, trees, and other things, water, whether non-living organisms or living organisms, they are falling under the community. So the group of population of different species living in a certain area, that is community. But when you talk of population, you're focusing on a group or on a certain species. Specifically, if you are focusing on dogs, you are just going to focus on dogs. If you are focusing on human beings, you're just going to focus on human beings. So that's the reason what I'm saying. This is just a group of living organisms of the same species in a particular area at the same time. Okay, and then so here they can give you a mark. So let's go to this one, the other question, which is saying investigate the changes in population. So there are different, or there are many factors that can change, that can result in the change of the population. So let me just list all those factors, and then we are going to expand from there. Now we are looking at the factors. So when you talk of factors that can change the population, we are focusing on two things here: those that can increase the population and those that can't increase or that can reduce the population. So we have to include them. So number one has to be the birth rate. Okay, so birth rate. If there is high birth rate, what is going to happen? Meaning to say the population is going to increase. If there is low birth rate, meaning to say the population is going to reduce. Then apart from the birth rate, we can also have death rate. Okay, so if many living organisms are dying, or if there is high death rate, what is going to happen? There will be reduction in terms of the population. Then apart from that one, we can also talk of migration. If the animals are migrating, or if human beings are migrating, that one can result in an increase of the population or reduction in the population. Then we also have immigration. Okay, so in talk of immigration, this one involves living organisms leaving a population, causing the population to decrease. But when you talk of this is let me just finish this one. We have immigration, we also have immigration. So in talk of immigration, this one involves now living organisms move into a population from outside. They are coming from other population and entering into another population to increase the population. But when you talk of immigration, this one now involves now living organisms living from a certain population and goes to another population, so that the other population where they are coming from is decreasing in terms of the size. So these are the factors that can cause the decrease in the size of the population. Then apart from that one, you can also talk of food supply. So even human beings, let's say for example, if in an area where you are living, let's say for example, if the land is not fertile, you are going to decide if you are into cultivation, then you find that where you are living the land is not fertile, meaning to say you are going to migrate, then find the land which is fertile where you are going to settle. So in terms of food supply, then apart from that one, also diseases. So if there is a pandemic, you are going to find that it is going to cause the death rate is going to increase. So diseases, they can also cause the change in the population. Then apart from that one, we can also talk about predation. So when you talk of predation, if the predators are many and prey are little. So when you talk of predators, these are animals now that eat other animals. Like the lion is a predator to an antelope, and an antelope is a prey. Okay. Then apart from that one, we can also talk of natural disasters like earthquake, bushfire. Those things, they can also cause what? Change in the population. To mention a few. Okay. Then also we can also talk about climatic change or environmental changes. Or let me just put it in general to say environmental factors. Okay? Environmental factors. And to mention a few. So there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from these, just choose three and then you explain. That's all. or you can choose 4 or 5 and then you explain. They are going to give you full marks. So how do you write now? We have defined what population is by saying it's a group of living organisms of the same species in a particular area at the same time. So now from there, now to continue with our AC, what are we going to do? We are going to say the following are the factors that can result in the change in the population. So we are going to say the following. Let me just change the color. Let me just use blue. Okay. So we are going to say the following are factors. The following are factors. Okay, the following are factors that can result in the population change. Okay, that can result in the change of population size. Okay, so population size. Then from there now you say these are, so you can put a comma, then you mention them or you list them. So from these you can just pick 3 or 4. So let me just pick death rate, also food supply, diseases, as well as disasters or natural disasters. We can just choose any of these, whichever point is very simple for you to write. So let's say, for example, if we list them. So let me just erase this part and then we continue with our AC. So this is how you earn marks. First thing, you list. Okay, so from listing, they are also going to give you a mark for each point that you are going to give. So we are going to say these are birth rate. Okay, so let me start with birth rate. It's okay. So we have birth rate. Apart from birth rate, we can also have let me say birth rate, and then I'm not going to include death rate because these are interconnected. So let me choose diseases. Okay, so we have diseases. Okay, and then apart from diseases, which one can I choose here? Can choose food supply or supply of food. Okay, which one is him? Okay, yeah, this one. So we can say food supply, and which one can I include here? Which one? Natural disaster. Okay, and natural disaster or natural disasters. So after listing this, so the way they are going to mark you like this. They are going to mark you the definition. Then from there now they are going to mark you according to how you are going to list the changes or the factors that can result in the change of the population. So they can give you a mark by just listing birth rate, diseases. They are going to give you a mark. Food supply, as well as natural disasters, they are going to give you a mark. So just writing this, they can give you 3 marks or 4 marks for just writing this. And then now for explaining, then now you start. Birth rate, you explain how birth rate can result in the what? In the change of the population. So you are going to say, when more individuals are born, the population size increases. Just by saying that. So you are going to say, when more individuals or animals, whichever way you like. Okay, so you can say, when more individuals or animals, when more individuals or animals are born. Okay, are born, then you put a comma. What are we going to say? Since the animals or individuals are born, what is going to happen? The population is going to do what? It is going to increase. So we are going to say the population size increases. So the population size increases. So the opposite is true when you talk of death rate. Okay, so when there is high death rate, meaning to say the population size is going to decrease. Just by explaining this one, you are done explaining what birth rate is and how it is going to contribute to the change in the what? in the change of population size, then you put a full stop, and then again you start explaining. You talk of diseases. Another one you can say, another one is diseases. Okay, then you start now explaining. You say diseases now, how is diseases going to cause the change in the population? So when more animals or more individuals are affected by diseases, what is going to happen? There will be high death rate, and high death rate is going to contribute to the reduction in terms of the population size. Then from there you explain like that. What about food supply? When there is low food supply, you're going to find that the animals are going to die of hunger, or individuals are going to die of hunger, since there is no enough food for them to sustain. Okay, then apart from that one, for natural disasters, you can include earthquakes, flood, or you can say bushfire, which destroy the habitat of living organisms, meaning to say the living organisms won't have the habitat where to live. And then you remember what I said about habitat. I said habitat, you're talking about the natural home of living organisms, where living organisms live. Then when you talk of niche is just a role a living organism play in an ecosystem. An example which I can give you is the role of the bacteria. So the role of the bacteria is to act as what decomposers. The trees, they act as producers. Those things, you have to remember them. So this is where I can just end. You can just continue. Just very simple to write. Then let's see question B. Question B is saying, explain how carbon and nitrogen in plants and animals return to the atmosphere. So we have 4 marks. So what I can encourage you here is this. Since they're talking about carbon dioxide as well as nitrogen, you can just draw a nitrogen cycle. Then you forget. Or you can just draw a nitrogen cycle. Then you explain a bit. But I can just encourage you to draw a diagram of a nitrogen cycle. The way the carbon dioxide and the nitrogen is going to be recycled. And that one is just going to be very easy for an examiner. So for question B, we answered in question B. This one here. So you can create a flow chart here, or just a chart to explain what really happens during a carbon and nitrogen cycle. So I'm going to say, let's have an example. If I have a plant here, we have a plant here, okay? Then apart from that one, we also have an animal here. We have an animal here. So now I'm explaining. Okay, let me just do this so that I create space on top here. Let's have an atmosphere on top. Atmosphere. So let's hope this is the way we're supposed to write. Yeah, atmosphere. Atmosphere. So we have this part here, which is the atmosphere. Then we have the plant here, or the plants. Then here we have the animal. So remember, here I'm just coming up with a chart to explain how carbon is recycled as well as nitrogen. Then somewhere here we can have the land, or dead living organism. You can say dead living organism. So this one might be a plant which is dead and it is going to decompose, and what is going to decompose that one are the bacteria or the bacterium. So dead living organism. Okay, so we have dead living organism. So this is another one. So now I'm going to draw the arrows according to how this nitrogen is going to be recycled. So we can have an arrow going this side. Okay. Then we can also have an arrow which is going to come from the dead living organisms going this side. Okay. We can also have an arrow which is coming from this side going down here. Then we can also have an arrow going up here to the atmosphere, or we can have an arrow which is just going direct into the atmosphere. So now here, what you're supposed to do, it is to write now the processes which are contributing to the recycling of carbon dioxide and the nitrogen. How is nitrogen going to be recycled? Then apart from that one, you can also include an industry here if you want. You can also include an industry, or if you want here, I can include an industry for the production of carbon dioxide through combustion. But this is how we are going to present the answer for question B. So let me explain now. So here what is going to happen is this. We have the plants which are producing oxygen. So we can also put like this. Yeah, because these are interlinked. So we have plants which are producing oxygen, and this oxygen is going to the what? To the animals. And these animals, after respiration, you're going to find that these animals, let me just include two arrows so that I differentiate here. There is an arrow which is going to point on this side here. Let me just include those. So I have this one here which is going on this side here. We also have another one which is going on this side here, so that we differentiate. So once plants produce oxygen, oxygen is going to go on to the animals. Now what process is that one? It is going to be photosynthesis, because we know to say that during the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is produced. So this is the process. Then apart from that one, during respiration, after the animals utilize oxygen, they are going to produce what? Carbon dioxide through respiration. So this one, the arrow is coming from animals going to what? The plants, because plants need carbon dioxide. So this one is going to be respiration. So this is respiration. Then even this one is going to be respiration, because some of the carbon dioxide is going to go to the atmosphere. Okay, so we can have respiration there also. Then from there now, once this once this animal, let me also include another arrow which is going to go on to this one here. Once this animal dies, what is going to happen? It is going to start decaying. Okay, it will decompose. Once it decomposes, you're going to find that the bacteria are going to act upon the dead animal or a dead plant. Then after that, you're going to find that nitrate is going to be what? Is going to be formed. And one thing that you need to understand here is that nitrogen is recycled in form of the nitrate. So what are we going to have here? We are going to have decomposition. So from here to this part here, or dead living organism, we are going to have decomposition. So decomposition. So after decomposition, what is going to happen here is that even here we can have decomposition for plants. For both plants and animals, we can have decomposition. Now, after the bacteria act upon the dead living organisms, what is going to happen is that nitrogen is going to be recycled in form of dinitrifying bacteria. It is going to be recycled by dinitrifying bacteria. So this process here, where we are seeing now these dead living organisms being decomposed, and remember, like I said, once the living organism die, nitrogen is going to be recycled in form of the nitrate, and those nitrates are going to be absorbed by the what? By the plant. So that's the reason why you are able to see this arrow here. So we can say this is going to be nitrification, where this plant here is absorbing the nitrate. So we can say nitrification. So this is nitrification. So nitrification is going to be carried out by the dinitrifying bacteria. Then from here, how is nitrogen going to be recycled? Let me also put this one here, another arrow. Okay, so this arrow here is showing now nitrogen entering the what? The soil. So you can have the soil here. So we have the soil. So how is the nitrogen going to enter the soil? Through the lightning. So here we can have the lightning. So that is the lightning. So the lightning is also going to contribute to the nitrogen, adding nitrogen to the soil. And then how is nitrogen going to go into the atmosphere? So you're going to find that nitrogen can go into atmosphere direct through the denitrifying bacteria. Okay, so apart from that one, you can also include another part where you are going to have an industry where through combustion carbon dioxide is going to be produced, and carbon dioxide will go to the atmosphere like that. Then from there, now you are done. Or if you want, you can explain these processes. So you can explain during distillation, animals use oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide will go to the atmosphere, and some will be used by plants during the process of what? Photosynthesis. That one you explain. And during the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is going to be produced and going to be used by what? By animals. Then from there, now when animals or plants die, they are going to decompose. That is decomposition. Once they decompose, nitrate is going to be formed, and nitrate is going to be absorbed by plants during the process of nitrification. Then you are done from there. That's the way you're supposed to answer this one. Now let's see the other questions. So we have the first one here, which is saying describe measures which could be put in place to prevent air and water pollution. So this one is just very simple to understand. No need of you explaining much. So what are you supposed to include in that question, or in this question here? Number one, this question is talking about the measures that we should put in place to prevent air pollution as well as water pollution. So the first point has to be use of clean fuel. Use of clean fuel. Okay, use of clean fuel. This is not the way we light fuel. So we light it like this. Use of clean fuel. Then apart from use of clean fuel, you can also talk about use of catalyst, the catalyst converters in cars. So use of catalyst converters in cars. Converters in cars. Then apart from that one, remember this one is 6 marks. So if you want, you can just put 3 points and then you explain them. Okay. So I can also include control burning, not just burning in out. So by controlling burning as well as planting trees. Planting what? Trees. Then apart from planting trees, what else can we put here? So we can also put use of chimneys in factories. So you say you know this chimney is going to convert carbon monoxide. When carbon monoxide is made through combustion, so you're going to find that carbon monoxide is going to be converted into carbon dioxide, which is less harmful to the environment. So use of chimney in industries. So chimney or chimneys in industries or industrial factories. So that is how you're supposed to write all those things. But remember, this is an essay. So what I've written here is just part of what? Air pollution, isn't it? But what about, so this one has to be R. What about water pollution? What are you supposed to do for water pollution? Let me just do this. What are you supposed to do for water pollution? So this is air. What about water pollution? So let me just write it here. So for water pollution, one thing that you need to understand here is that here you have to treat sewage before discharge. So we can talk of treat sewage before discharge. Treat of sewage before discharge. Okay, so apart from treatment of sewage before discharge, what else can I include here? Proper use of waste disposal. So you find that some people, they dispose chemicals in water, and that one you're going to find that the aquatic living organisms are going to be affected by those chemicals. Okay, so we can say proper treatment or proper, let me remove this one here. So proper waste disposal, proper waste disposal. So that one has to be an answer. Then apart from that one, what else? Control of use of chemical fertilizers. So you find that during cultivation we use fertilizers. Now let's have an example. If you are just from applying the fertilizer and then the rain comes, you find that all the fertilizer is going to be washed away into the into the river or the lake. Therefore, you're going to find that that water is going to be contaminated. So control use of fertilizers. Control use of fertilizers or chemical fertilizers if you want. Fertilizers. Yeah. Or you can say pesticides, pesticides or pesticides. Then apart from that one, oil spill or acid spill has to be controlled or prevented. You find that, let's have an example, if there is an accident near the, okay, let me just put it in this way. Let's have an example, a tanker is carrying what, and is carrying acid, and then accident has happened near the river. You find that there will be the spillage in the spillage of what, the acid, of that acid into the river. As the result, you are going to find that the aquatic life are going to be affected. So we will say acid, or we can say oil spill prevention or control if you want, or control. It's the way we write control now. Let me just put it in this way, and control, so that it sounds nice. And then we can say and control. So this is how you are supposed to, these are the points that you are supposed to include in your essay. Now see, this question is carrying 6 marks. So how are we going to explain this? So since that this question is carrying 6 marks, you can explain 3 points from air. So you get this one, you also get this one, you also get this one. Just need to choose 3 points which are very simple for you to explain on air. You also choose 3 points on water which are very simple for you to explain. So how do you write your essay? So you just say the following are the measures that should be put in place to prevent. So let me start for you. So you say the following, so the following are measures, are measures that should be put, that should be put in place to prevent air pollution, air and water pollution, and water pollution, not like that. Let me do this. Okay, so and water pollution. These are, then you start mentioning now. After mentioning them, and then you explain them. So from these, you choose 3 points for air, then you also choose 3 points for water. So let's say, for example, so let me just say these are planting trees. Then apart from planting trees, so I've started with air. Control burning Control burning. Then apart from control burning, which one can I also include here? Use of clean fuel. Then apart from use of clean fuel, we can also include, now we are done with the air. Since I'm saying you just have to explain 3 points from here. Then let's come to water. So for water, which one are we going to include here? Like proper waste disposal. So proper waste disposal. Let's hope this is the way we like disposal. Then apart from proper waste disposal, we can also include, so we have written 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then apart from proper waste disposal, what else can we include here? Control use of fertilizer. Use of fertilizers. Okay, so fertilizers. Then apart from that one, let me include the last one. So I'm going to say and. Which one else can I include here? Treatment of sewage, and treatment of sewage. So treatment of sewage, sewage before discharge. Then you put a full stop. Then from there now you start explaining now one by one. Let's say for example, you start with planting trees. So how is planting trees going to prevent air pollution as well as or let me just focus on air pollution now. How is planting trees going to prevent air pollution? You know to say that plants are able to absorb carbon dioxide, isn't it? So if carbon dioxide is being produced from the industries or from the animals during distillation, you find that these plants, if you plant many trees, those plants are able to absorb carbon dioxide from the surrounding. And you find that some of the pollutants are in form of carbon dioxide, and since these plants are able to absorb that carbon dioxide, so you find that there will be reduction of carbon dioxide, which can cause harmful to the living organisms. Okay, as such you find that this one is going to help to clean the water, to clean the air. Then you are done explaining what planting trees can contribute to the water, or should be the measure to prevent air pollution. Then let's talk about now the control burning. How is control burning going to prevent, or how is it going to prevent air pollution? So you find that control burning, this one reduces the burning of rubbish and crop residues, and this one encourages proper waste disposal instead, isn't it? So you find that as well, when you control burning, you find that the carbon dioxide which would be in the atmosphere, it is going to be controlled compared when there is uncontrolled burning, which can contribute to the acid rain when there is a lot of accumulation, or when there is accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. You find that one can result to what? Acid rain, which can cause what? An effect on crops as well as the effect on the land. You find that the land is going to be what? It's going to be acidic. As a result, this one can also cause an effect on land as land pollution. Then when we talk of use of clean fuel, you find that clean fuel, this one is just simple to explain. Instead of using fuels which are going to contribute to the pollution, you can use clean fuel like the solar panel, you use hydroelectric power station, all those things, instead of using the fuel which is going to contribute to the pollution of the environment or the air in that way. Then we talk of proper waste disposal. How is proper waste disposal going to prevent water pollution? You find that controlling waste disposal, some people they just dispose things, some they dispose chemicals in water, which is going to affect the aquatic life. So in explaining this, just need to be brief and go straight forward to the point. So So this one is just very simple to explain. So you just have to choose the points which are very simple for you to explain. So I've given you all these points, just have to choose. Then we have question B. So for question B, it is saying explain the importance of conserving plant species as well as animal species. So for plant species, let's start with plant species. What are the points are you supposed to include there? Remember, this one is also 6 marks. So here you have to explain 3. Even here you have to explain 3. You need to balance. You need to make sure that you balance up. So this is question B. Let me start with plants. Why is conserving plants important? So you find that as we are conserving the plants, we are maintaining the biodiversity. So maintaining biodiversity. So if you remember very well what I said about biodiversity, I said biodiversity. This one refers to the variety of living organisms. The variety of living organisms. So as we are conserving plants, you find that we are going to conserve the variety of plants. So some of the plants are useful for medicine. So that's the next point which I'm also going to include here. As we are maintaining biodiversity, you find that from the same plants that we are maintaining, that we are conserving, some are the source of what? Medicine. So we are going to say source of what? Medicine or medicines. Source of medicines. Then apart from that one, we can also include food and raw materials. Food and raw materials. Okay, so from plants we get raw materials like timber. Also get food, like from the mango tree we get mango. From the apple tree we get apples. From the orange tree we get oranges. So they provide food for us. So they need to be conserved, as well as raw materials like for construction and other things. So you can just get these and then explain them. So when it comes to maintaining biodiversity, how are you supposed to explain this one here? So more plant species keep ecosystem stable. And this one here, if you remember very well, I said plants, they act as producers. So as we are maintaining different varieties, we're also providing what? The food for other animals, because we know to say that plants are the producers. When it comes to the source of medicine, how is plants falling under source of medicine? You find that many drugs come from plants, and unknown species may have future medicine use. So some of the medicines that we use, they come from where? From plants. Then apart from that one, for food and raw materials, I've explained, because we know to say that plants provide crops, fruits, timber, fibers, oil, and other products. And also human depends on what? On plants for them to survive. So without plants, no life. Life can't exist without plants. So those are the things that you need to understand here. Then apart from that one, you find that this one here, as we are maintaining the plants, we know to say that these plants, they are very, very important in soil protection as well as regulation of climate. So you find that an area without plants, like the way the deserts are, you find that those places, they don't receive what? Rainfall. So there is bad rainfall pattern in desert. In fact, in desert doesn't rain because there are no plants there. So you find that there will be soil protection as well as regulation of climate here. So soil protection. Then apart from soil protection, you can also include climate regulation. Climatic regulation or climate regulation, whichever way you consider, you'll have to put it. So we have 4 points here you explain. What about animals? So for animals, where should I write this one here? Okay, so for animals, let me utilize this space here. So for animals, you can also include biodiversity as well as ecosystem balance. So the animals are very, very important in an ecosystem, in that they are very important to control the population of the prey. So if the anthropes are many, then the lions are few. What is going to happen? Or let me just put it in this way. You have more predators than you have few prey. So you find that the predators will have few or will lack food supply because they are main compared to the prey. So one of them is going to be food and economic value. Food and economic value. So how is this one coming about? So you find that if we conserve animals, so animals, they act as what? If we conserve the lions, the zebras, those are going to be part of what? They are going to promote tourism. As a result, they are going to add to the economic, in terms of the economic value. Then they are also part of food. Okay, so an antelope, we get the meat from the antelope, another animal meat that we get from these animals. So apart from that one, the animals are also very, very important in pollination. Like we talked of in the last session, we talked of animal dispersal. We also have cross pollination, where the bees they participate in pollination as cross pollination. All those things, pollination and seed dispersal. So we can say pollination and seed dispersal, and seed dispersal. So all those things. And then apart from this one, you can also say for future use. Okay. And then apart from future use, what else can we include here? Scientific research. Even this one you can also include on plants, like the scientific research. They are very, very important on that one. So let me not include this one here, but of course, yeah, I can include it if you want. So you can talk of scientific research and other things. Then what else? Can also put what else can we put here? Maintenance of biodiversity. Maintenance or balance of nature, can also include that one, and then you explain. So these are just very simple to explain. So when you talk of food, so many animals, as the source of what? Many animals, they provide proteins. So we can talk of fish. We get the meat from the animals. Or let me say we get the protein from the animals, like meat as well as fish, as well as supporting the livestock like fishing, as well as tourism, as well as farming, under economic value when we conserve them. Then apart from that one, when we talk of pollination and seed dispersal, so here we talked of animal dispersal. Okay, so insects, birds and mammals help plants to reproduce. For example, I explained what usually happens during animal dispersal. For pollination, you can talk of the way the bees help in pollination. A bee is going to come from another plant, go to another plant by transferring the pollen grains. If the plants are alike or they are of the same species, you're going to find that there will be pollination there. Then in talk of future use. So for future use, you find that some of these plants that we conserve, they are the source of medicine, we don't know, but due to the scientific research, you find that we are going to discover more and use those things as medicines, and they are going to provide raw materials in that way. Then apart from that one, maintenance of balance of nature. So you find that it's very, very important to conserve animals, to balance the nature. They are very, very important in an ecosystem. So a lion is very important in an ecosystem because it is going to prevent the accumulation of other animals by eating those animals. Then like that. So those are the things that you need to understand here, and then you explain. Just need to choose 3, even here 3. Then from there we are done.